Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of biology. And of course, today we are looking at neurons, all right? And of course, don't forget that these tutorials, that these episodes, all of these classes, they are brought to you by the one and only O3 Schools app, okay? If you're preparing for your JAMB exam or your WAEC exam, NECO exam, GCE, any O-level exam at all, okay? O3 Schools is the best place to be, and O3 Schools app, whether JAMB or for WAEC, is the best application to use. Check our testimonies and you will see how a lot of people's life have been transformed. People who thought they would never make it, people who thought they could not do it, and they have done it. And your case will not be different, but you have to start early. All right, let us see a past question from the O3 Schools app. This is the JAMB app. This is year 2024. 2024, number 6. Okay, year 2024, number 6. I guess it is being displayed on the screen right now. It says, which arrangement shows the correct pathway of impulse transmission? A says the dendrites to the cell body, then to the axon, then to the synaptic knobs. B says the cell body to the axon, then to the dendrites, then to the synaptic knobs. C says the axon to the cell body, then to the dendrites, then to the synaptic knobs. Why D says the synaptic knob first, before the axon, then before the cell body, before the dendrites. All right. So the funny thing about this is that if you do not understand this, or if you do not know anything about neurons, you cannot answer this question, and many more that will answer at the end of the class and not before, because at O3 Schools we pride ourselves in giving you value first. Okay, let us teach you, and once you have learned and you have opened your mind to learn, answering question will be the least of your problem in this life. All right, so please ensure you stay to the end of the class and download the O3 Schools app so that you can pass your exam at once. The app has everything you need to succeed. All the past questions are on the app for all the subjects. Likewise, question search feature, just like go search for this question, you can go to the app, click on question search, then click on the subject you want, search for any topic you want, and question that JAMB has set for the topic from all the years will come out for you to answer, thereby building your confidence whenever you read a particular topic. All right. Then likewise, there's a classroom feature. The classroom has lecture notes that have been structured according to the JAMB syllabus. A lot of you study without the JAMB syllabus, and that's a problem. We have solved that problem for you with the application. You have lecture notes structured according to the JAMB syllabus, and there's a study plan on the app also. You can create a study plan or a timetable. Okay, according to layman, you can create a timetable, and it will crash all the 4 subjects you are studying for JAMB, or all the 8 or 9 subjects you are studying for WAEC, and create a perfect timetable for you that can enable you to finish your syllabus before your exam. All right, all of these and many more features, like also the UTME mock challenge. As you can see them being displayed on the screen right now, many features. The UTME challenge also, or the WAEC challenge on the WAEC app. But I say challenge we organize for all students that are writing the exam for this year. You compete with your mates, win prizes, but the prizes is not the main point. The main point is that you are getting used to JAMB past question or JAMB WAEC question, likely exam questions. You are seeing how examiners are thinking and how they set questions, and you'll be seeing your score release every weekend. All right, thereby making you to track how prepared you are per time. All right, it's a wonderful feature you should not play with. Many other features I cannot talk about right now. All right, so please download the application and activate it. Activation goes for a little fee. All right, the activation price on the application, all right, shows what the correct fee. All right, whatever you have seen in an old video or in a previous video, all right, does not matter. Check the application. Once you download the app, all right, click on activate. At the top, you see where they wrote buy activation key. Click on it, then click on buy transfer. You see the correct amount for activation, all right, for the app, and then of course activate it so that I can get full access. All right, so let us continue with what we have today, which is the neurons. Okay, so in the last class where we did an introduction to coordination and control, all right, we made a lot of headway, and then we ended by saying that that the nervous system, right, is made up of, it's an organ system that's made up of many structures. Okay, but we say that the structural and functional units, okay, unit of the nervous system is the neuron. All right, we see that the neuron is the structural, is the basic unit. Okay, is the structural and functional unit okay, of the nervous what system. All right. So how that means that what it is the neuron that what enables us to be able to communicate, okay, that enables us to be able to memorize, store information, and what regulate what both voluntary and involuntary action. But how exactly is this neuron able to what to do it? Okay, neuron is able to what to do this via what communication. Neurons, there are many neurons what in the human body, okay, and what these neurons, they communicate with what with each other, okay, they interact with what with each other. This is the structure of a neuron. You can see from my left hand side here, right? It has what the dendrites. Okay, we are going to see the function of all of this part. Okay, so the dendrite receives what the information. Before the dendrite, somewhere you have our dendrons. Okay, dendrons passes the impulse to the dendrite. Okay, this is the nucleus. All right, then this is what the cell body. Then we have the node of Ranvier somewhere here. Okay, in between what this place, you can see what node of Ranvier here. They have the myelin sheath also. Okay, they also have what a squamous cell. Then we have what the axon terminal. Then we have what the synaptic what knob. Okay, or the synapse. All right, so these are all the parts of what of a neuron, and all of these parts have what their functions. They have their functions. So neurons are able to what do all of those, memorize, regulate voluntary and involuntary action by what? By communications. Neurons communicate with what? With one another. And there are about 86 billion neurons, okay, in the what? In the human body. 86 billion neurons in the what? In the human body. Approximately, okay, there's approximately 86 billion neurons in the human body, and most of them are in the brain. They're in the brain. They're situated in the what? In the brain. They're in the spinal cord. We have approximately 1 billion neurons. Okay, 1 billion what neurons in the what? In the spinal what cord. All right. So the whole of our nervous system, it communicates with other what organs. It interacts with other organs so that what the body, so that we can function properly. All right. So these 86 billion neurons, all right, they communicate with each other, they interact with each other, and that's exactly how they're able to to memorize and regulate actions and do all sort of things that they're able to do. And they do this by generating electrical impulse. Okay, they do this by generating electrical impulse. All right, so the whole nervous system is able to interact with each other, communicate with each other, and by generating this electrical impulse. And the neurons are responsible. They are responsible for communication between the CNS. The CNS is called the central nervous system, and different parts of the body. Okay, so the neurons are responsible for communication between the central nervous system and different parts of the body. Neurons are also known as as nerve cells. We can also call neurons as as nerve cells. And these neurons, they contain charges. They contain charges. CHARGES. They contain charges. Why do they contain charges? It's because electrical impulse is being generated. We have said that electrical impulse is generated, or electrical impulse or signal is is generated, and because this electrical impulse or signal is being generated, it therefore means that that these nerve cells or these neurons we're talking about will definitely have charges. Okay, and this happens and charges, and these charges get discharged due to difference in the ions. Due to difference in the ions. Okay, so there are let me just show you some of the ions, okay, that are present. What's an ion? We have defined ions far back in chemistry when we say that that ion is an atom or a group of atoms that contain electric charge. All right. So since ions are there, definitely that means that there will be charge present. charge will definitely what be present. Okay, so we have said that what neurons contain charges. Okay, and these charges that they contain means that what they are what essential for its what function. Okay, without the charges, that means what the neurons will not be able to what function properly. Okay, but if you ask yourself what kind of charge is present in what in the neurons, okay, all that what charge do they what have? It is what ions, like I said. Okay, like we said, ions, they contain what charges. They contain what charges. Alright, they are atoms or what group of atoms, that is, or molecule that contain what charge. Okay, and some of these ions that are involved include sodium ion, we have Na plus, we have potassium ion, we have chloride ion, we have calcium ion. All right, these are what some of the ions that are what present. Okay, these are some of the ions that are what that are involved. And where are these what ions located? Okay, they are located inside some are located inside the what the neuron. Okay, sorry, EURON. While some are located what outside the what the neuron. That is what in the surrounding fluid. They are located in the surrounding what fluid. Okay, so we said that what these are the ions that are involved. Okay, and they are located. Some are located inside the neuron, while others are located outside the neuron. What in the surrounding fluid. Now, the sodium ions are more concentrated outside the cell. These sodium ions, they are more concentrated outside the cell. Why these potassium ions? These potassium ions and the sodium ions are the two most important ions. Okay, all right. So sodium ions concentrated outside the cell, while potassium ions are concentrated. They are more concentrated inside the cell. Okay. Now the chlorine and other negatively charged proteins. Okay, they are usually inside the cell. Okay, that means that initially the inside the neuron there may be more electronegative ions. Now the difference in this ions distribution, creates something that we call voltage difference. Okay, across the cell membrane. All right, and this voltage difference that is created is called the membrane potential. All right, now when a neuron is stimulated strongly enough, there are some things that happen. All right, when a neuron is stimulated strongly enough, all right, there are some things that happen. Number one, what happens is that the ion channels open. Okay, let me make this very clear. All right, so when a neuron is strongly stimulated or is stimulated strongly, number one, what happens is that the ion channels they open. All right, number one, ion channels open. Okay, and when the ion channels open, it allows for sodium ion to rush in. Okay, allowing sodium ion, that is Na plus ion, to rush in, thereby making the inside more positive or less electronegative. Okay, since ion channels have opened, sodium ion, which is positive, is rushing into the inside the neuron. It therefore means that the inside will become less electronegative. Okay, to rush in, making the inside less negative. Okay, now if the change reaches a threshold, okay, an action potential is set up, kind of an electrical spike is set up traveling down the axon. All right, so number two, if the change reaches a threshold, what happens is that an action potential, that is electrical spike, okay, occurs traveling down the axon. All right, so this is what happens. So if the change now reaches now we say number one, ion channels will open, allow sodium ion to rush in, making the inside less negative. Now if this change, all right, and because this is what's happening? This what's called sodium ions are what are entered. That means that what inside the neuron now have what it will become less negative because more positive ions have gone into the neuron. Now, if the change now reaches what a threshold, an action potential or what electrical spike occurs traveling down the axon, and then the neuron will now reset. It will now reset. Number 3, the neuron will what reset its charge. Okay, then what allowing what those ions to go back to their original position. Okay, then what allowing the ions to go back to their original position. All right, so this is what happens. So like we said initially, before we started talking about this, we say that what when a neuron is what stimulated strongly, okay, what happens? Number 1, we say the ion channels will open, allowing sodium ions to rush in, making the inside less negative. Okay, now 2, if the change reaches what a threshold, an action potential or electrical spike is set up, which occurs traveling down the axon. Then number 3, the neurons will now reset its charge, allowing the ions to go back to their original position. So it's a bit like it's just like a tiny battery, that powers your torchlight, okay, or your flashlight, okay. But in this case, instead of it to power a flashlight, what is powering is our thoughts. Our thoughts is powering our movements, and powering our sensations. Okay, so that's what the neuron is. Okay, it powers our thought, powers our movement, and our sensation. Okay, so this is what we've talked about. What you should take note from here, what are the ions that are involved? Questions are being asked of you from there, so you must ensure you take note of those ions and do not confuse them. Take note that that impulse is it's a quick electrical charge that passes through. It's a quick electrical charge that passes through the neuron. All right, so take note of that. So now let us now begin to look at the parts of this neuron. Okay, one after the other. Remember, we have the axon here. Okay, this is the axon. Okay, that's AXON. All right, this one axon. Okay, so this O is the axon here. All right, so now let us now begin to look at them one after the other. Let's look at the cell body first of all. Let us begin with the cell body. The cell body is also called the soma. All right, it's also called the soma. It's also called the cyton. All right, so please take note of that. So we'll call the cell body the soma, we'll call it the cyton. Now, before we talk about all of this, we have discovered that a lot of you do not appreciate our efforts, all right? You do not support whatever we are doing, okay? And how can you support us? You may ask, all right? 1, by liking this video. Liking the video will make other students who are not aware of this kind of lessons to be aware of it, so they can join in and also learn like you. Okay, so please, that means your success is in somebody's success is in your hand. So if you're not liking it, means you are wicked and you do not want them to succeed. Okay, so please like the video right away, even before we continue. Like the video, don't click on that like button, that hand that looks like this. That's all. Okay, and also do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Subscription to this channel is free. It's just to send notification to your phone whenever we release a new class. All right, what's more also is that you need to copy the link of this video. Just click on the share button. Okay, click on the share button and copy the link and share to your class group, share to your friends. Okay, share to your junior ones who are preparing for JAMB or WAEC also. Even those in SS1, let them start with us very early. You see how good they have become when they get to SS3. Okay, so all of these, they are it is important for this channel to grow. Okay, so please do all of that and God will bless you richly. Some of you that say that in our family we don't want to make people succeed. Okay, please stop that. Stop it. Okay, so talking about the cell body now. The cell body, we say it's also called the cyton. We say it's also called the soma. Now, the cell body, okay, it has It has a prominent nucleus. Okay, it has a prominent nucleus that is very obvious, conspicuous what nucleus. As you can see here, this is the cell body here, all right? So this is the cell body. As you can see what this nucleus here, this is the nucleus, all right? So it has a visible nucleus that you can see is conspicuous, okay? It has a prominent nucleus. And from this cyton or the cell body, we now see what we call cytoplasmic projections, okay, that are known as the dendrites, okay. These cytoplasmic projections are known as the dendrites, okay. And one of such projections, one of such long projection that we have is the axon, okay. This axon here, all right, it's also a long projection, the axon. Then we now have the axon, which is also a long projection. The axon is surrounded by what we call myelin sheath. Okay, the axon is surrounded by by fatty sheaths. Okay, fatty sheaths. Okay, that is called myelin sheath. Okay, so axons that are surrounded by myelin sheath that are called myelinated axons. Okay, so axons that are surrounded by myelin sheaths. Okay, these fatty sheaths are what we call the myelinated axons. The axons, they end in the axon terminal. All right, these axons, all right, they end in in the axon terminal. All right, now this myelin sheath, okay, it acts as an insulator. Please take note. It acts as an insulator as electrical impulse is being conducted. Electrical impulse or signal is being conducted through the neuron. All right. So as electric impulse or signal is being conducted through the neuron, this fatty sheath that is known as the myelin sheath, it serves as as an insulator. Okay, an insulator. Okay, so that's to prevent shock. Okay, so that is the function of the myelin sheath here that you see. Okay, so it helps or serves rather as an insulator. Now you want to ask a very important question. How do these neurons work? Okay, there are so many neurons in the body, like we said, up to 86 billion. Okay, so how do the neurons work? Okay, let me just please show you. I'm just going to do a sketch to explain this. Number one, you should know that first of all that neurons, they are not connected end to end. They are not connected end to end. So as you are seeing this neuron now, all right, if the next neuron will not begin from from this axon terminal, that means it will not actually be like this. Okay, let me say you have something like this. All right, this is just a sketch. Okay, let's say this is a neuron. All right, this is the cell body. Okay, then this. Okay, this is a sketch. Okay, so neurons are not connected end to end. So they are not connected end to end. Okay, so you not have one again like this, another like this. Okay, so now remember the axons and all of that. Now, after this neuron, now if this is one neuron, the next neuron will not begin with this, so that it will now like say a company like say you match. Okay, no, they are not connected end to end. So you not have something. You will not have something like this now, and that looks like this now. Then now you now have the other neuron head. Okay, just like this place. Will not have this. So it is not connected end to end. They are connected one after the other. Okay, they are connected they are connected to each other. So as one ends, another one begins. So this head now, this part is now connected to this part. This part is connected to this part. It is not this part. Okay, if you have two neurons, okay, let me sketch it. Okay, let me say you have something like, let me make it smaller so that you can understand better. All right, so this is nucleus. Okay, they will now have this in here. So the next neuron now, remember this now, all this part using to represent here now. Okay, so now this is the end of this is the axon terminal. This is the end of the first neuron. The next neuron will not begin with with this end. It will begin with with this head again. So you now have another one again like this. Okay, like this again. Okay, with the neuron, with the nucleus, they will now have something like this. That will now end in in the axon terminal too also. All right, so something like this. Like this. Like this. So they are not connected they are not connected end to what? To end. Take note of that. The first thing you need to understand about what the neurons, what connection, how they work. They are not connected what end to end. They are connected what one after the other. They are connected one after the other. Now, whenever there's a stimulus, okay, what happens is that our receptor, like we talked about, our receptor will first of all what perceive it. Okay, now once it perceives it, it will now pass the electric signal or the electric impulse, okay, to the what? To the dendrite of what? Of the first neuron. It will pass the impulse to the dendrite of what? The first neuron. That's what happens. So whenever there's a stimulus, okay, what happens is that our receptor will perceive it, then pass the electric signal to what? To the dendrite of the what? Of the first neuron. Remember, we're talking about what? Two neurons now, okay, connected one after each other. So this is the dendrite somewhere here, okay. This is the dendrite of what? Of the first neuron. This one is another what? Dendrite of what? Let me say dendrite 2. This is dendrite 1, okay. So whenever a stimulus comes, our receptor will perceive it, pass the electric signal to what? To the dendrite of this what? First what? Neuron. This means that what? That the role of the dendrite is to what? Is to receive electrical what? Impulse, okay. This one is to what? Receive electrical impulse or signal, okay. That is the role of what? Of the dendrite, okay. So it receives the electrical impulse or what? The signal, and then it passes it to the what? To the cell body or to the cyton. Passes it to what? To the cyton, which is the cell body, and then from there it now reaches our nerve endings. Which is our what? Our nerve what? Endings, okay. So that's what basically what happens in a short summary, okay. So whenever the impulse comes, right, the dendrite will receive it, pass it to the cyton, and then it gets to our nerve endings. So if you notice very, very well, you will discover that what? That two neurons, they are never connected together. They are never connected together. They are only placed close to each other, okay? They are never connected, but they are placed close to each other. So now as the dendrite receives the signal, passes to the cell body, gets to our nerve ending here, all right? You see that what? It goes back to what? To this dendrite of the second neuron again. This is the first neuron. Once the signal reaches this nerve ending, it will go to the what? To the dendrite of the second neuron, okay? From dendrite of the second neuron, take it to the cell body of the second neuron, then it take it to the what? To the nerve ending. And that is how the transmission of signal is done, okay, in the what? In the neuron. Now, the node of Ranvier, this node of Ranvier that we are seeing here, it enables what? Signal to be passed very, very quickly, okay. So it just like helps to facilitate the words, the passing of what? Of signal, okay. It enables signal to be passed what? Very quickly, okay. This one enables signal to be passed, okay, quickly. Okay, it facilitates, okay, the rate at which the signal is is passed. That is the function of the node of what? Of the Ranvier, okay. It facilitates or enables signal to be passed very, very quickly. And since the neurons, okay, they are not connected together, all right, it means that what? Between this first neuron, okay, this is neuron 1, N1, and this is neuron 2. That means that between this first neuron and this second neuron, there's a what? There's a gap. There's a fine gap. We call it a fine gap, okay, between the axon terminal of what? Of the first neuron and the dendrite of what? Of the second what? Neuron, all right? And this gap, this fine gap is known as what? The synapse. Okay, so the synapse is what? Is that gap that is present between what? Two neurons, okay, between what? The first neuron and the second neuron, as we have illustrated here, all right? So since the neurons are not connected together, that means that there will be a very small gap between both of them. They are not connected. That means there will be definitely a small gap. That small gap is what we call what? The synapse. Now, what effectively happens is that now as the signal, electrical signal gets to the what? To the nerve ending or the first neuron here, okay, just before we get to the second, to the dendrite of the second neuron, just before we get to the dendrite of the second neuron, all right, there's a chemical reaction that takes place, okay, a chemical reaction that takes what place. Okay, now let me repeat myself. All right, so as the signal gets to the what, to the ending, okay, or to the axon terminal of what, of the first neuron, all right, just before the dendrite of the second neuron, there's a chemical reaction that takes place. And remember very well in the first episode when I told you that the difference between what is it called, chemical control and nervous control is that nervous control is both what, electrical and what, and chemical, while what chemical control is strictly what, chemical. Okay, so there's a chemical reaction that takes place in this what, fine gap just before it gets to the what, to the dendrite. And what effectively happens is that there are what, these chemicals. There are what, chemicals that are what, present in small bulbs. That are present in small bulbs, bulbs, that is called what? Called vesicle. Okay, and these chemicals, they are known as what? As neurotransmitters. Okay, just like we have something like this. Okay, something like this, yeah. Something like this. Then we'll now have something like this again. Okay, so Joe, let's say this is the this is neuron 2. This is the second neuron 2. Okay, somewhere here, okay, we have what, the chemicals called neurotransmitters. Okay, then here we have what, the synapse. Then in these bulbs, okay, we now have what, these bulbs. Okay, then here we have what, the synapse. All right, so this is what, the vesicle. All right, so like I said, what effectively happens is that what, that there are these chemicals that are present in small bulbs, Sorry, this is what, this is the synapse. Okay, this is the gap. Okay, so this is the synapse, something here, the synapse. Then here is what, inside this vesicle, we have what, the neurotransmitters. Okay, please just understand what I'm trying to illustrate. It's just an illustration. Okay, so inside this vesicle, we have what, chemicals that are known as what, as neurotransmitters. Okay, and of course, they are just and all of this happen just before we get to the second neuron. And these neurotransmitters are nothing but chemicals that are released by the axon terminal. Okay, they are chemicals. Neurotransmitters are chemicals released by the what, axon terminal into the what, into the synapse. Okay, and that is why what they are. That's why a chemical reaction is taking place there. All right, they are nothing. Neurotransmitters are nothing but chemicals that are released by the axon terminal into the what, into the synapse. And once they are released, they go to the what, to the dendrite, okay, of what, of the second what, neuron. All right, they go to what, to the dendritic side, okay, of what, of the second neuron. So it is worthy to note that what, that basically this electric signal that is being transmitted in the neuron, all right, it's not like continuous. It's not continuous. It's continuous throughout the first neuron, okay, but after the axon terminal or the nerve ending, okay, there's a small gap, or that where what chemical reaction what takes place before it now what gets to what, to the dendrite of what, of the second what, neuron. All right, it's not like a wire that what the electric signal just keeps what running through. All right, there's a gap. There's that synapse is what is the gap where what that chemical reaction what takes what place. So you must take note of what, of that. All right. In summary, we'll see that, well, first of all, once the electrical signal or the stimulus comes, okay, our receptor, like we say, we perceive it, pass the signal to what, to the dendrite, okay. From the dendrite, it goes to the cyton gets to the what, to the nerve ending, okay. And once it gets to what, to this what, axon terminal or the nerve ending, what happens is that what, the axon terminal what will release what, chemicals. It will release chemicals that are known as what? Neurotransmitters. Transmitters. Okay. And once it releases what, this chemical known as what? Neurotransmitter. It is this what chemical that now what goes what, that's now passed on to this next neuron, to the dendrite of the next what neuron, okay? And then as it goes to the dendrite, it will now change from what chemical back to what to electrical signal, and from there it's what the process what continues on and on again. Now let us assume that that this information, okay, is going to a muscle. Okay, now between the axon terminal and what and that muscle, okay, something will be formed called the neuromuscular junction. All right, so the neuromuscular junction what will be formed, okay, if the information is being passed to what to a muscle. So neurotransmitters are chemicals that helps in transmitting the electric signal or impulse, okay, of the information from one neuron to the what to the other. Okay, so please take note of what of all of these. They are very, very, very important. Okay, and also take note of what of the diagram and note what these parts. Even the squam cell also helps to what to make what impulse what faster. Okay, so it helps to speeding what impulse, just like the myelin sheath. Okay, so sorry, it's just like the node of Ranvier. Sorry, okay, just like the node of Ranvier, which helps what to facilitate what the speed or increase what the speed of what of the impulse. All right, so does the squam cell. SCHWANNCELL, squam cell. So take note of what of that. Now we have what three types of what of neurons. Okay. Number one, we call it the sensory neuron. We have three types of neurons. Number one, sensory neuron. Number two, we have motor neuron. And then number three, we have relay neuron. All right. So before we talk about them, please ensure you have liked this video, ensure you have subscribed to this channel, ensure you are sharing our video to your friends, to your loved ones, to your class group. All right, whether you are watching from Facebook or whether you are watching from TikTok, please ensure you share our link. Okay, so we say there are three types of what of neurons. Number one, we say sensory neuron. Okay, then number two, we say what motor neuron, and then number three, then we now have the relay neuron. Now, let us begin with the sensory neuron. What does the sensory neuron do? The sensory neuron is also called the afferent neuron. Please take note of that, okay? As you may see it in your exam, right? You may not see sensory. Okay, if you see afferent neuron, it's the same thing as sensory neuron. And as the name as the name implies, sensory, okay, it has to do with your sense organs. Okay, and our sensory neuron is responsible for transmitting information from the sense organs. Okay, we say it's responsible for transmitting information, from the sense organs to the brain or spinal cord. Okay, so the afferent neuron or the sensory neuron, okay, it beats according to its name. All right, it's responsible so that you can easily understand it. All right, so once it's sensory, your mind should go to sense organs. Okay, it is responsible for transmitting information from the sense organs, okay, your receptors, okay, to the brain or your spinal cord. Okay, and of course it transmits information. It transmits information from the sense organs to the brain. All right, and a good example is the sensory neuron, okay, that is found in what? In the optic nerve. All right, example, e.g., sensory neuron found or present in the optic nerve. So please take note of that. So that's the sensory neuron, called afferent neuron, responsible for transmitting information from the sense organ to the brain or spinal cord. So it transmits information, all right, from the sense organs directly to the brain. And the example is what? Is the sensory neuron that is found in the optic nerve, or that is present in the optic nerve. All right. So now let us now talk about what the next one, which is the motor neuron. All right. And what does the motor neuron do? It is responsible for transmitting information also, but this time from the brain or spinal cord to different parts of the body. Okay, so that is the motor neuron. Motor neuron. All right, this one is responsible for transmitting information. Responsible for transmitting information. This time from the brain. From the brain or spinal cord, okay, to different parts of the body. Okay, example of those parts are what? E.g., muscles, or what? Our glands. Okay, and a very good example is the neuron, e.g., neuron present in the nerve connecting the brain and muscles of the arm. All right. So that is what an example of a motor neuron. It's responsible for transmitting information from the brain or spinal cord to different parts of the body. Okay, such as what? The muscles and the gland. An example is the neuron that is present in the nerve connecting the brain and muscles of the arm. All right. So now that's not take us to the last one, which is what? Relay neuron. Okay, so for relay race, okay, those of you that did sports in school, you know relay race now, where they'll be passing baton. Okay, they'll be passing or batting. Okay, so that means that for relay it's what connects. It is also called relay neuron. It's also called association neuron. We also call it association neuron. We also call it interneuron. All right, just like inter-sport. Okay, so we call it interneuron. We call it association with neuron. And what does this relay neuron do? Okay, it serves to to connect the sensory neuron. Okay, and the motor neuron. Okay, so that is the function of the relay neuron, to connect the sensory neuron and the motor neuron. And these are all found in the brain and spinal cord, just like the one found in the brain and the spinal cord. Okay, it's a relay neuron. All right, the function is to associate these two neurons, the sensory and the motor, together, or to connect them together. And now that will take us to nerves. Okay, so let us talk about nerves. All right, so please, this is a reminder for you to like this video. Please like, subscribe, and share. Download your O3 Schools app, okay, from Play Store, from your for your iOS phones, on your Apple Store, even for your laptop, okay. If you want the app for your laptop, just message this number on WhatsApp. 09121515246. Even if you want to activate the app, message this number on WhatsApp also. Okay, let's say you're having trouble with activating, message this number also on WhatsApp. Very, very, very within you, before you know, okay, you are starting to blast in tongues of any subject you want to blast. All right. So now let us talk about nerves. Nerves. Now, neuron. A neuron is It's a single cell neuron. A neuron is a single cell, okay? But nerves that we're talking about here are made up of many neurons, okay? Nerves, on the other hand, are made up of many neurons, okay? And as these many neurons are brought together, right? They are brought together and they are bundled up, okay? So nerves are made up of many neurons, where the axons are brought together. The axons are brought together and then they are bundled up. Okay, and that's what now makes us to get nerves. All right, so nerves are a bundle of axons that are covered by myelin sheaths. Nerves, they are bundles, we call them bundles of axons, bundles of what? Of axon covered by a myelin sheet. We know what myelin sheet is already, yes? We already said that myelin sheet is a fatty or tissue, okay, that helps to what? To serve as what? As an insulation, okay? Whenever what? An electrical impulse is being passed through what? The neuron, okay? So nerves are bundles of axons covered by what? The myelin what? Sheet. Now, the sensory neurons together, if all the sensory neurons sensory neurons together, all together, they form what we call the sensory nerve. Please take note of that, okay? So the sensory neurons together form the sensory nerve. While the motor neurons, what do they form? They form the motor nerves. You are very correct, okay? So all the sensory neurons, okay, together form the sensory nerve, while the motor neurons form what? The, what's it called? The motor nerves. It means that what? That the neuron is the fundamental, okay? A neuron, this neuron we're talking about here is the fundamental, okay? Is the structural, is the functional unit of the what? Of the nervous system, okay? Is the fundamental, is the structural, and the what? The functional unit of what? Of the nervous system. You have to take note of that. The neuron, we have already defined it earlier, okay? We are trying to recapitulate on it, okay? That what? They are the fundamental, the structural, and the functional unit of the what? Of the nervous system, right? Our brain and our spinal cord, they are only there for what? For control, okay? They are responsible for controlling the activities, okay? So our brain and spinal cord is what is responsible. Brain and spinal cord is what is responsible for controlling. They control, okay, and then they also coordinate. Okay, various activities, okay? So that is what the brain and the spinal cord, they are responsible for controlling and coordinating with various activities, all right? Now, all the cell body together, all right? We saw what the neuron, right? We saw where the cell body is, okay? So all the cell body together, they form another structure that is known as ganglia. They form a structure known as what? The ganglia. Please take note of what? Of that. They form a structure known as the ganglia. And like I told you before, that some of the what? Actions that we take, okay, they are, we'll put some efforts, put some thoughts into them, while some do not put thoughts into them. They just happen like that, even without our thinking, okay? So I will say what? We have what? Voluntary and involuntary what? Actions. I've already talked about this in the beginning, in the first episode. So I'm not going to talk about them again. Okay. So voluntary actions and what? And involuntary action. You know what they are already. So I'm not going to beat around the bush. Now, the involuntary actions are those actions that we feel that we are controlling them. But we are not really controlling shit. We are not controlling anything, bro. We know they control them, okay? But we think that we're the one controlling them, okay? Like breathing, okay? We feel that we're the one controlling our breathing, where we breathe, or how food goes down our windpipe, okay? All of those what are involuntary action that are controlled by the central nervous system, all right? And those are what? Involuntary actions. And some of these involuntary actions, they are extremely quick. They are extremely quick, okay? And these ones that are extremely quick are what known as what? The reflex action, all right? These involuntary actions that are extremely quick are what we call the reflex action. Reflex is an involuntary and nearly instantaneous response. Involuntary and nearly instantaneous response to what? To stimuli, okay? So that is what? Reflex action, okay? So reflex action different from reflex arc, please take note of that. The reflex action is different from reflex arc, okay? We said that what? Reflex is an involuntary and nearly instantaneous, movement in response to stimuli. Now, so that means the reflex is an involuntary and nearly is very, very instant. It's very, very fast. Example is touching an hot object. Example, e.g., touching an hot object. What's another example of what? Of a reflex action? Touching a needle. Maybe piercing a needle, piercing you. So needle what? Piercing. Let me say needle piercing. I hope you understand that very well. So when you touch a pointing needle, all right, that's reflex action. Let's say unknowingly it happens, you remove your hand immediately. When you touch an hot object, naturally you withdraw your hand immediately. Those are what? They are reflex action. So it's an involuntary and nearly instantaneous movement in response to what? To stimulus. And we say vividly that what? Now reflex action is different from reflex arc. Reflex action is different from reflex arc. If I'm an examiner, this is where I will catch you. They are different, and I'm going to make it very easy for you to understand. What is now reflex arc? For arc, we're talking about a route. The shortest route. The shortest route. We're talking about a route where from where you perceived an action to where it eventually happened. Shortest route. That's what we talk about with reflex arc. But in reflex action, we don't talk about route. All right, we only just say what is movement in response to instant movement in response to stimulus. But for reflex arc, we talk about the route, the path that what it takes to happen. And we're usually concerned about the shortest route from where it was perceived to where it happened. That's why I would say that what? The reflex arc is the shortest route taken by the electrical impulse from your receptor to your effector. So your effector is basically your muscles. This effector is basically what? Your muscles. Your receptors, that one that perceive the action. So in other words, you can say that reflex action is the shortest route taken from where you are perceiving the stimulus. Is the shortest route, or it is the shortest route from where you are perceiving the stimulus to where it actually happens. So that is what the reflex arc. We're talking about a route. We're talking about a route. All right, a route taken by the electrical impulse. All right, from your receptor to your effector. Or it is the shortest route from where you are perceiving the stimulus, to where it actually happens. So we say that this effector is basically your muscles, and there's a path to the reflex arc. I'm going to make it very interesting for you to understand. So let us talk about the path to reflex arc. So basically, reflex arc will begin with your stimulus. All right, it will definitely begin with your stimulus, just like touching an hot object also. It will begin with your stimulus. So number one, it begins. Take note that the reflex arc begins. It begins with the stimulus. An example is what? Is touching an hot object, e.g. touching an hot object. So now, once you have touched the hot object, what happens after that is what you are concerned about in the reflex arc. So the route it takes Okay, what happens immediately after touching what and hot object? What happens is that what your receptor number one will to perceive it. Okay, your receptor after what touching the hot object, one, your receptor will perceive the what? The stimulus. So that is the first thing that will happen. Okay, your receptor will perceive the what? The stimulus and pass the information to your sensory neuron. Okay, your receptor will perceive what the stimulus and then pass this information and pass the information to your sensory neuron. All right, so please take note of what is happening. So we're talking about the path now to reflex, the route to reflex arc. Okay, so it begins with the what is stimulus. Sorry, this is arc, A-R-C. It begins with the stimulus. Okay, such as what? Touching an hot object. After I touch the hot object, what now happens? Your receptor will perceive the stimulus and then pass the information to your sensory neuron. This your sensory neuron is neuron that is responsible for what? Passing what? Electrical what? Impulse. Okay, to the what? To the central nervous what system. So it is what? The neuron. It is the neuron. Okay, let me just say the neuron responsible. Sensory neuron is the neuron responsible for transmitting electrical signal from your receptor to the central nervous what system. Okay, so the receptor will perceive the stimulus and pass the information to your sensory what neuron. And we say that the neuron is the sensory neuron is the neuron responsible for transmitting what electrical signals from your receptor to the central nervous system. And then the sensory neuron will now take it to the what now? To the central nervous system. Okay, so number two, the sensory neuron will what? Pass the signal to the central nervous system. But in this case now, okay, since you are using your hand to touch the hot object, it will be sent to the central nervous system. But in this case, take note, but in this case, the spinal cord. Please take note that for reflex arc, the central nervous system is involved, okay? Both the brain and the spinal cord, okay? But for reflex arc, we are concerned about the route. We are concerned about the route it takes, okay? Now, if the signal, if the stimulus, okay, is perceived or is around your face or your neck, okay, let's say you take your face now to touch something that is hot, that you withdraw it immediately. Abi, let's say your forehead now, you touch a hot kettle while you were in the kitchen. Once you touch the hot kettle, you withdraw it, isn't it? That signal, once the receptor perceives it, it does not send it to what? To your spinal cord. It sends it to your brain. Why? Because the brain is the shortest route. It's the shortest route, okay, from that your face, okay? So it's very, very short. So instead of it to now send it to spinal cord, okay, which is what? Far behind, okay, it sends to the brain. So any stimulus that is around your face or your neck, it goes to the brain first. It goes to the brain first, okay? But now, it is your hand, like we use what? An example of what? Touching an hot object. So if you use your hand to touch an hot object, okay, your hand is closer to your spinal cord than the brain. So it goes to what? First of all, it goes to what? To your spinal cord. If the electrical signal is being transmitted to your spinal cord, it is not as if the brain is not involved, though it is involved, but it goes first to your spinal cord. The information will first of all pass to the spinal cord because the spinal cord is the shortest route. Okay, it is shortest route for what? For processing that information. And inside the central nervous system, inside the CNS now, we have your relay. We'll talk about the type of neurons. We'll talk about the type of neurons. So we have the relay neuron inside the central nervous system that helps to connect both the sensory and the motor neuron. Okay, please take note of all of this explanation. Okay, so this is what happened. That's the pathway reflex. As it begins with the stimulus, it is touching an hot object. Your receptor will perceive the stimulus and pass the information to your sensory neuron, which is the neuron responsible for transmitting electrical signal from your receptor to the central nervous system. Okay, so the sensory neuron will pass the signal to the CNS, but in this case, it will pass to the spinal cord. Okay, it's saying because the spinal cord is the shortest route. Okay, the shortest route, so it goes to the spinal cord first. All right. So now we see that inside the CNS we have the relay neuron, which helps to connect the sensory neuron and the motor neuron together. So what happens next is that the spinal cord will now process the information quickly and pass the information to the effector, okay, or the effector was whatever is carrying that action, like the muscles. All right. So that's basically what happened. Okay. So that's the part to the reflex arc. Okay. So let me just do a summary of what happens in the reflex arc. Okay. Before we now go and answer questions. All right. Because in the next class I'm going to be focusing on the nervous system, that is the brain and the spinal cord only. All right, so please ensure you have liked this video, ensure you have subscribed to this channel, ensure you are sharing our tutorials, our videos to your friends and loved ones. Tell them to come and learn and tell them to come and pass their exam at once. That is the message you should give to them, and it is very, very paramount. All right. So now let us now see a pathway, okay, to this reflex arc. Okay, so it begins with your stimulus. Okay, let's say this is your hand. Okay, this of you that has small hand. Okay, touching, this is the hot object. Sorry, let me draw it the other way. Okay, so this is the hot object here, and this is your hand touching it. Okay, and this then we now have first of all, our receptor will perceive the stimulus, isn't it? Okay, so we have our receptor somewhere here, perceiving, so it goes here, receptor perceives it. We have our receptor. Okay, and once it perceives it, we say it sends to the sensory neuron. Okay, so it sends this signal to the sensory neuron, okay, and then from there it goes to the CNS. Okay, so this comes to the CNS. Okay, let's say this is our CNS. So this is a sketch. Let's say we have something like this. Okay, then we now have something like this. Then I have this is just a sketch of the CNS. All right, so this CNS, okay, in this case we talk about the spinal cord because it is the hand, it is closer. The spinal cord is closer than the brain because the stimulus, okay, it is the hand that is touching the hot object. Okay, so yes, the spinal cord is here. All right, and we say inside the spinal cord we have the relay neuron. Okay, relay neuron, which is responsible for now? For connecting the sensory and the motor neuron. So we have the spinal cord here, the hot object. Then of course, that means we have our motor neuron. All right, inside this CNS. This is our CNS. This is our central nervous system. A sketch of the strength of your own central nervous system, not my own. Okay, so this is the central nervous system, and inside the central nervous system we have the relay neuron, which connects the sensory neuron, and the motor neuron together. Okay, then from that place, it is now the CNS now send the signal. Okay, we say the spinal cord will process the signal and transmit the message, okay, to the effector. Okay, so it now goes to the effector, which is somewhere here, to the effector in muscles. All right, so it's a simple pathway. It's a route. That's why I say it's a route. Okay, so from the hand touching the hot object, the receptor perceiving the stimulus, being sent to sensory neuron. You must know this pathway. It comes out in your exam. Okay, it's been sent to the sensory neuron, and the sensory neuron is sent to the CNS, central nervous system. In the CNS, there's a relay neuron that connects the motor neuron and this sensory neuron. And then from the motor neuron, it goes to the effector in muscle after being processed by the spinal cord. Okay, it's as simple as ABC. So now, without wasting much time, let us go to the app, answer questions. There are so many questions and they are so easy. Okay, and I will not answer any of them. You tell me, they are all assignment for you. You tell me the answers in the comment section. Okay, so number one, we have 20 23, number 27 here. It says that nervous coordination in animals involves, A says the integration and processing of sensory information. B says the contraction and relaxation of muscles. C says the transmission of electrical signals between neurons. D says all of the above. Okay, please listen to the option very well. Nervous coordination in animals involves A, the integration and processing of sensory information. B, the contraction and relaxation of muscles. C, the transmission of electrical signals between neurons. D, all of the above. Tell me the answer in the comment section. 2006, number 6 says, one basic similarity between nervous and endocrine system is that they both, I think I told you this in the last class, okay? All right, so this question should have been from the last class, but we didn't take it, so we'll take it now. They say one basic similarity between nervous and endocrine system is that they both, A, say produce widespread effect. B, say transmit very fast impulse. C, say involve the use of chemical substances. D says produce precise and short-lived effects. Okay, so this is the only question I will answer for you. Okay, remember I told you but for nervous control, it uses both chemical and electrical signaling. Okay, so both chemical and electrical is in nervous, but for endocrine is only strictly chemical. All right, so that means that they both involve the use of chemical substances, because at the end of the axon terminal, releases a chemical substance that is known as neurotransmitter, which helps to now process the electrical signal and send the information to the dendrite of the next neuron. I told you that. Okay, so now let us go to 2020, number 24. It says in mammals, 2020, another assignment for you. Number 24. Say in mammals, stimulus is transferred from the receptor muscles to the central nervous system through the motor neurons. Is it motor neurons? B say effector muscles. C says dendrites. D says for sensory neurons. Tell me the answer in the comment section. 1995, number 29. They say use the diagram below to answer the question. Okay, the part labeled X. X is very obvious there, all right? And we have told you what it is. So tell me the answer in the comment section. A say axon, B say cell body, C say terminal dendrites, D say synapse. Now, 2024, number 6. 2024, number 6. So which arrangement shows the correct pathway of impulse transmission? A say dendrites to cell body to axon to synaptic nerve. B say cell body to axon to dendrite to synaptic nerves. C say axon to cell body to dendrite to synaptic nerves. D say synaptic nerves to axon to cell body to dendrite. All right, tell me the answer in the comment section. 2023, number 39. It says that which of the following is the main function of nerve cell? A say transmitting mechanical signals in the nervous system. B say transmitting electrical signals in the nervous system. C say producing and releasing hormones. D say filtering waste product from the blood. Tell me the answer in the comment section. Okay. They also have 2022, number 40. It says here that a neuron that transmits impulses from the receptors to the central nervous system. This is a repetitive question, okay? Later you say JAMB does not repeat question, and that's where most of you have problem from, okay? Now they say a neuron that transmits impulse from the receptors to the central nervous system is A say afferent neuron, B say efferent, C say relay, D say intermediate. I told you what the answer. So tell me the answer in the comment section. 2022 also, number 24 says dash is a fast automatic response to stimulus of an organ. Fast automatic response. A say reflex action, B say voluntary action, C say dendron, D say neuron. Okay, so it is not the dendron. The dendron is what passes the electrical signal to the dendrite. Okay, so in the neuron, all right, there's a dendron, there's a dendrite. Dendrite passes the signal to the dendrite. Okay, so the dendron is part of the dendrite. That is that for that. So tell me the correct answer in the comment section in this case anyway. Now, 2004, number 30. Number 30 says the two key cations involved in the action potential of nervous transmissions are A say sodium ion and ion novel join. So B say magnesium ion and potassium ion. C says sodium ion and potassium ion. D says ion ion, that's ion 2 ion and magnesium ion. So tell me the answer in the comment section. Now 2023, number 6. They say which of the following statements about neurons is true? Okay, A say neurons are only found in the brain. B say neurons transmit electrical signals in the form of sound waves. C say neurons are the fundamental unit of the nervous system. D says all neurons have the ability to regenerate. Tell me the answer in the comment section. 1995, number 30. Okay, it says that which of the following ions is involved in the conduction of nerve impulse? A says calcium ion, B says potassium ion, C says hydrogen ion, D says magnesium ion. Tell me the correct answer in the comment section. All right. So, do you have anyone more? Let's see, 2018 number 22. 2018 number 22 says the smallest branches on the cell body of a neuron. The smallest branches on the cell body of a neuron that are known as A say dendrites, B say dendrons, C say ganglia, D say squam cell. All right. So tell me the correct answer in the comment section. All right. So they say 27. Okay, I think we have answered this. All right, in the previous class. So, all right. So please ensure you download this application. Many other questions are there that we have not even touched. Okay. Listen to the class, answer all the question, gain confidence, smash questions, and what? Be prepared for your exam. I'll see you in the next class. We'll talk about what? The nervous system, that is the brain and the spinal cord, in full view and full flow. See you there.